The game all of us have been waiting for this weekend is over, and it feels like the real winners are Liverpool, who are now sitting comfortably with a 5-point gap 5 games into this season. I thought this game was actually pretty fascinating. We learned quite a lot in terms of Arsenal's hopes this season and Man City's hopes this season. But I think to start things off with, I was maybe a little bit perplexed by how City ended this game. I think the big mistake City made that stopped them from getting a really hard fought, an admirable 3 points, was taking off Erling Haaland. Straight away, there was no outlet. The outlet was gone. You don't have that second striker in the team to turn to. There was no Liam Delap who could even be off the bench, just chasing down games for the final 20 minutes. That was a big mistake. And then in the final moments, they encouraged too much pressure, and then they kind of used like a high line to catch Arsenal offside. That was so risky and so unnecessary. And it was that one detail in the performance which I thought Guardiola had mastered all the details. He controlled Arsenal as best as he could with Man City with their surprising defensive approach. But then to let it all go with those decisions near the end, I think it did kind of waste a lot of the valiant effort that Man City showed. Because I think if there's one thing that we also learned from City and Guardiola is that this is a City team that is looking to feed Erling Haaland. This is a City team this season that are very comfortable playing without the ball. Maybe they paid the price last season where Pep felt like, okay, teams are catching on with how we're dominating possession. The trends in football right now, more teams that have the ball are kind of suffering at this point in time. Most teams now have the fitness, the tactical nous. And let's not forget the quality of the league every year is improving. It's growing. A better class and caliber of player is joining every club in this division. Unless your possession game is that telepathic, you're going to struggle to unlock teams. So it seems like we're going back to basic roots this season. I don't know if you guys are noticing this, but there's so many goals scored from headers and crosses. It feels like I'm watching like 03-04 Premier League football. It feels like I'm watching early 2000s football with how direct play is actually benefiting and prospering teams. And it feels like this is maybe the counter approach now to the, positional play, possession football that's been dominating this league for a long time. And it's interesting that Guardiola is at the forefront of the new meta in that sense. You're seeing details, man, like the long throws coming back, early crosses, counter-attacking direct play. And that was everything that Man City displayed and showed today. And for myself, I think this is to enhance Erling Haaland. They have a player that you could argue is the best forward on the planet, and he's the most clinical. And they're a team that looks to play quickly to find Haaland now. And it works, because in the first opening minutes of the game, Man City took a surprising lead. And it was a surprising lead because of the manner of the goal that was scored, right? Look at how deep the run Haaland made to get into that goal-scoring position. And that's another trend I'm noticing. We saw it with Gravenberch against Everton yesterday. You're seeing it quite a lot now in terms of deep runs from players being encouraged now, because you can't really mark someone who's that deep in the field until it's too late. And Liverpool have been doing this really well throughout the season. I've seen many other teams attempt this. For my Chelsea team, I would like to see us kind of encourage that a bit at times, because it seems to be the best weapon at just breaking the lines and finding possibilities in behind. And it's kind of interesting that both the goals scored today from Haaland and then that equalising goal from Martinelli came in similar fashions in each team's own way. But finishing my point on Haaland, I think this is quite smart and effective. You can see it in the business City have done as well. A lot of players that are comfortable keeping the ball when they have to. But they're showing more edges. They're showing that they're also a team that can defend resolutely, that can keep their shape, that can restrict and, really just disrupt the opposition's play. And I think they did that really well in the first half. I think it really took Arteta by surprise. I think Arteta thought maybe he'd have to wrestle possession back, hence why Merino was introduced in that first half lineup, because you're thinking Merino, another great box crasher with aerial presence. If the game's going to be in midfield sometimes, you want to ensure that you have the physicality to at least dominate City in those moments. But City defended deep. City looked to find Doku to play through Arsenal, hit them on the transition. They encouraged Erling Haaland. He was doing these 50, 60-yard runs from his own half to get in front of goal. It was insane. And it's also scary because who's stopping Haaland when he's running like that? I mean, did you see that run? That run from Haaland was making me laugh. That just like pure muscle, like bodybuilder. I don't even know what to describe it. It was just a really comical running style, pure power at its finest to eat those yards up and get there. And my thing is, if you're seeing Haaland running like that, no one's stopping him. You're going to hurt yourself trying to stop this guy in that pursuit of the goal, right? So I think it was a decision from Guardiola which really spun Arteta. But it's just the great thing about Arteta and Guardiola. It's always been this engaging tactical battle of each manager trying to outsmart the other, and then each manager trying to react to each other's plays in game. And this is why the games are always like high stakes, really intense, and where the margins are so fine, the details are so fine. Listen, Arsenal had some moments in that first half. They tried to find it through Madueke, who had an interesting battle against O'Reilly. Gyökeres wasn't really as involved in the game as much as he would have liked to have been. Some moments, some set pieces, which Man City made sure that they weren't going to allow no near post OP flick on Arsenal meta from headers and corners to affect them in this game today. And you saw really good defensive performances from your Gvardiol's. Kusanov, I thought he did a really admirable role playing in defense today. I think O'Reilly kept up with Madueke as best he could. I just saw like a lot of interesting things that I was not expecting Guardiola to revert to in this game. And, Man City was definitely there to rise to this. I thought Gvardiol was exceptional in defense as well. But the game changes in the second half. Arteta's clocked on what the hell's going on. He's not spun by things. And I think if you're an Arsenal fan, you have to be impressed by his quick decisions and reactions he made in that game. Because that game was screaming out for an Eze. I think every Arsenal fan knew that in the first half. And also Saka's introduction was also great. Now, in my opinion, I probably would have maybe moved Madueke to the left-hand side. Just maybe support Gyökeres a little bit more. Having that direct outlet who can maybe go to the byline. At times, Trossard was coming in a bit too much, and I thought he was really solid today, Trossard. But there was a few, like 3 occasions, I was thinking, you know what? There's a moment here where you could really just go at Núñez. You could go at Núñez maybe a little bit more to try and just break apart that really rear guard Man City defense today. But outside of that, Eze's introduction, Saka, it was what the game needed. And you can see just the differences between like a Saka and Madueke. Madueke is a bit more powerful, and I've always thought with his dribbling style, when he has momentum on his side, similar to like a Rafael Leao, you can't really stop him because he's a really strong type of winger. He's good with his close control, but Saka just has that bit more nimbleness that allows him to come inside a bit more effectively. I think maybe the decisions, things like the technical executions, like his shots are hit a bit more pure with a bit more power. How he releases the ball, just little facets and details. But I think there's still 2 really good wingers to have in Arsenal's squad. You've got to see the game in terms of a squad now. And I think when you got guys like this, it definitely helps. But yeah, man, Eze's introduction was such a big one. All the subs made were big to help change the game for Arsenal. But Eze, just adding a bit more quality between the lines, having that license to be inside instead of outside this time, which we all saw those moments of Arteta screaming at Eze to make sure that he was holding the width. This time he was allowed to play more his pure game. And it definitely did help. Eze's shooting outside the box, his combination plays with his teammates. And I guess it's no surprise that he played the pivotal part, getting a second assist in his Arsenal career. Back-to-back games now, playing that depth ball over the top to find the on-rushing run of Martinelli. And you know what? I made that point about Madueke because I think this is what Martinelli definitely brought with his introduction. Just that ability to be that direct outlet through Man City's lines. I think that definitely helped quite a lot in terms of just offering that ability to stretch City. And that pass played by Eze world class. And the finish from Martinelli, someone that comes under fire from Arsenal fans. In these types of games, he does have his use. He does have his use. And when I look at the Arsenal squad, I see how a lot of players make sense in certain aspects and facets in the game, right? So that run and his introduction was really needed because, as I was saying with Drossard, he held the ball well, in-swinging cross is good, he kept the play, kept the pressure, but I just felt like Arsenal needed that outlet on the left-hand side who was going to commit to going at his man, to making the third man run in behind. A bit more pace to stretch. Go at Nunes, and they got their luck in the end. Yeah, it definitely worked. Was really good play from Arsenal. Really good goal for Martinelli outside the boot flick on as well. I'm even talking about Martinelli. Obviously, the run he made didn't even come from the left side. I'm just saying it was the profile of needing that dynamic, that type of pace merchant, that type of player who's going to commit to running in behind. That was like the secret weapon that Arsenal needed to add. And there was just enough time. Obviously, once we saw the 7 minutes added on, there was just enough time for Arsenal to claw back and get a respectable point, which I think, it's been the story of the weekend in the Premier League, right? The most draws we've seen since the new Prem season's come back. But yeah, this was probably a fair point for both teams. And yeah, another really engaging tactical battle. I'm looking forward to seeing the YouTubers dropping their analysis videos on this game. I think there's a lot of talking points to discuss and to get through. But yeah, you guys, that's my thoughts on what we've learned from Arsenal 1, Man City 1. And as I said, the real winners this week was Liverpool with their big gap so early on during the starts of this season. So my friends, share your thoughts and opinions on your thoughts on the game below. I'm NiiNiiFC. I'll catch you guys later with more reviews. Cool.